everybody. Welcome to a new episode of Hallmark Heartbeats, a podcast all about Hallmark movies. I am your host, Camille. This week we are reviewing Hallmark's newest movie titled Sweet Pecan Summer, starring Wes Brown, Christine and Lauren Tom. After two duds in a row, I am going to be honest, I was terrified of how this movie would come out. I was hyped about it when I saw the behind the scenes videos and pictures back in July, but I was hyped about a little daytime drama as well, and that was a disappointment. But this movie was close to perfect. It had comedic gold, the storyline was simple and funny, the actors had chemistry, most of the cast was POC, and it gave a small, tiny nod to Asian culture. Everything a little daytime drama lacked, this movie had in spades. Wes Brown is a Hallmark darling. We have seen him in movies such as Christmas in Graceland and one of my personal favorites, Under the Autumn Moon. This is both Christine and Lauren's first foray with Hallmark. And as an Asian woman who grew up watching Joy Luck Club on repeat, the excitement I felt seeing Miss Lauren Tom in the cast list can't be described. I could spend a whole podcast on just that alone. So let's talk about the movie. The official synopsis is sparks fly between a young woman and her ex-boyfriend as they work together to sell her aunt's pecan farm. This movie is loosely based on Wes Brown's wife's family. That just sounded like a lot. It is also executive produced by him. And I have to say, although it is a huge step towards representation for Hallmark, it definitely has a long way to go. And sadly, this movie is an example of how far the channel has come and how much further it needs to go to really be diverse. Yes, most of the cast is Asian, and it did touch upon some of the Asian culture, but it didn't feel like a diversity hire. Oh God, I am going to get so much hate for this. Hear me out, okay? Before you guys turn off the podcast or whatever. We never got to know the family's ethnicity, never heard their language spoken, and the family was in the movie for a total of 5 minutes, with maybe a total of 10 lines. I understand that the movie centers around JP, Amanda, and Carol, but hi Hallmark, coming from an Asian girl who was excited to have a whole cast of people looking like me, and actors toting this movie as half of the cast are Asian, yeah, that was a bit disappointing. But it did have some winning points, and this is where we say the huge steps of representation for Hallmark. Considering there was practically zero representation of Asian family in the channel, 5 minutes is an improvement. Shoot, Christine being first in the list of actors, improvement. 2 out of the 3 main cast listed being Asian, improvement. Shoot, just the fact that the Asian representation in this movie wasn't relegated to best friend, concierge, mailman, assistant, makeup artist, major improvement. My jaw dropped to the floor when the real estate brokers walked into their home with shoes on. No, don't do that. That is a big no. I mean, let's take away that this is an Asian household they're walking into. But this is farmland. Loose dirt, mud, etc. They're tracking into people's home. I was so happy to see JP take off his shoes. That is a sign of respect when you go into an Asian person's house. Now, if the fact that the small scene of him taking off his shoes being a big deal is puzzling to you, then you would understand why representation and diversity is so needed. People of different cultures are so hungry for it. Just a small gesture of recognition is being praised. It would have been awesome if we heard them speak in their native tongue, or at least mention their ethnicity, but small baby step, and it is to be celebrated. I give this movie 4 out of 5 stars. I am happy to see people looking like me on screen. Definitely something to be celebrated and praised. It is a huge step, but again, an example of what needs to be done more of. The chemistry with Wes and Christine was adorable and believable. Their banter and how they tease each other is awesome. One of my favorite scenes is her giving him a pouty face to try to get her way. Totally relatable. Who hasn't done that? Lauren Tom. Just Lauren Tom. God, I would have given my right arm to be able to interview her, but she is busy with filming and wasn't available. But one of these days, I will interview Miss Tom, even if it kills me. My family plays mahjong. I grew up on Jola Club. I used to tell my classmates I was in the movie. Another story to share in another podcast. Not now. The comedy is gold. Between Chase Ramsey and Lauren Tom, I couldn't stop laughing. Chris being the irritating best friend who has crazy kids ripping on JP. Aunt Carol being the not-so-subtle matchmaker. I was in stitches throughout most of this movie. I love that Aunt Carol is a widow who found a second chance in love. She said, I had a hard time finding my first love. I got lucky with my second. I think so many can relate. This movie also has a very important message in it. We hold on to things because it is attached to people we love. But even if we sell it or we lose it in another manner, the memories and the love we have for the people stay with us. It was a great movie, but man, I have to deduct points for the Harvest Moon ending. Like seriously, the last 7 minutes of the film was rendezvous to 2015's Hallmark movie. Now, mind you, I know Hallmark does repeat storylines all the time, but Amanda's aha moment about pecan oil was practically word for word from Harvest Moon. Just substitute the words pecan oil with pumpkin cream. Like you knew she was going to end up keeping the farm. It is Hallmark after all. But literally, it sounded like copy and paste. You can listen to the podcast on all platforms. Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Tune-in+Alexa, Pandora, and YouTube. Follow us on Twitter, Hallmark Heartbeat1, Instagram, Hallmark Heartbeats, Facebook, Hallmark Heartbeats Podcast. Support the podcast by buying me a coffee, please, on www.buymeacoffee.com/hmarkheartbeats. So, the next couple of podcasts are going to be so much fun. Second wave of summer night movies continues. This Thursday, I have an interview that will be released with Shelley Townsend. She is a co-star of Sweet Pecan Summer. She starred as Kay, Amanda's mom. Her role was very, very small. She literally was one of the Asian family members that was there for only like 5 minutes. And I think she only had like 3 lines. But we will be talking about the movie. We'll be talking about Asian representation in media, growing up in America, all kinds of things. Hallmark. She also had previously worked for Hallmark before in Love, Fall, and Order, so we might talk about that as well. November 7th, I am so excited about this movie. There's a movie coming out called Journey of My Heart, and it is starring Rhiannon Fish and Darian Miller. The recap for that. The movie comes out on September 7th. The recap reviewing of it comes out on September 7th. And I am so excited for this one because I am working really, really hard and have 2 solid yeses and 3 maybe yes. I will not be announcing the maybes yet, but I am most excited about those people. Talk about representation. This is actually Journey of My Heart is the first Hallmark movie ever to have indigenous actors in the movie, to have Native Americans. And I hope and pray that since this wasn't started as a Hallmark production, that they will actually talk about have real solid Hallmark representation, not just, you know, a gloss over it kind of thing. And I'm really excited about it. I'm excited to talk to the people who worked in the movie, which leads to my November 7th podcast. That on that day I will be releasing my sorry, not November 7th, which leads to my November 10th podcast, which is exciting because I get to interview two people. And this is my two solid yeses. I get to interview Rhiannon Fish. Rhiannon is coming back. We're going to talk all about Journey of My Heart. And director of the movie, Lucy Guest. Lucy is not only the director of Journey of My Heart, but she's also directed several movies for Hallmark. Love on Harbor Island is one. And another, it also has co-starred in so many Hallmark movies. It's crazy. 9/11 is when fall harvest begins. So, on November 12th, I will be releasing a podcast with my dear friend and, fellow Hallmark podcaster, Dara. She hosts Dear Hallmark podcast, and we will be previewing all of the fall harvest movies. There are a total of 12. 6 on Hallmark Movie and Mysteries channel, and 6 on Hallmark channel. I'm still not sure how I'm going to work those movies, the recaps of that at all. There are some interviews that I have lined up for the movies. I just don't know if I'm going to do 2 recaps a week or what. I'll get back to you maybe next week on that. But, yes, November 12th, Dara and I will be talking. So, that's going to be fun. Hope you guys enjoyed the movie as well. Thank you for listening. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.